Okay, all right.
What's the actually? That's good.
Oh, okay. Judith, do you know if we had any other people straggling behind you?
Bus was really slow. Yeah,
The
there was
bus
traffic.
was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again.
The drivers were saying they had a lot of traffic and slow getting here.
Okay,
Yeah.
should I give it till a couple more minutes or?
I think go.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead. Ranveig, if you're ready.
I am.
Okay, so welcome to the last day of the conference. Thank you everyone for sticking with us. It's been amazing. Robbie right here deserves all of the applause.
We do. Thank you.
So I'm happy today to introduce Ranveig Aas. She's an archivist and intangible cultural heritage professional based in Trondheim, Norway. She serves as an advisor at the Norwegian Center for Traditional Music and Dance, where she specializes in audiovisual documentation. Welcome, Ranveig.
Thank you. And I'm very sorry I'm not here and or not there in Honolulu. And thank you to everyone who has come early in the morning. For me, it's late in the evening. My name is Ranveig Aas, and I am an archive advisor for the Norwegian Center for Traditional Music and Dance. And I'm going to talk about a project that we have been doing since 2018 called Arkivformidling Trøndelag, or Archives Dissemination Trøndelag. And Trøndelag is a county in Norway. I will talk short about the Norwegian Center for Traditional Music and Dance. We are a leading center for knowledge and dissemination of Norwegian traditional music and dance. We were funded 52 years ago. We are based in Trondheim with around 9 full-time staff. We have 70 organizations and institutions represented in our governing body, and we are home to one of Europe's largest archives of traditional music and dance, especially audiovisual materials. Our mission is to promote, preserve, and pass on Norway's traditional music and dance, and we are accredited as an advisory body to UNESCO on safeguarding intangible cultural heritage, an NGO. And we serve as a key consultative body for the Ministry of Culture and Equality on traditional music and dance. In the picture, you can see our national instrument, the Hardanger fiddle. The vision for the Norwegian Center for Traditional Music and Dance is that we will ensure that Norway has access to and the opportunity to adopt and carry forward its traditional music and dance. We do this because Norway's rich and distinctive traditions require dedicated effort to continue living on as active history, knowledge, and practice. We have made field recordings since 1967. On the picture here, you can see our funder, Egil Bakka, out in the field. We have over 100,000 individual items in our collection. Most of the recordings we have done ourselves in the field, and we have almost the entirety of the technical evolution in audio and video and film from 1967 until today. And we are getting close to having digitized it all. Our collections include audio recordings, and this is field recordings of traditional music and music for dancing, and interviews. We have film and video, which is also field recordings of dance, of playing, and of interviews. Our photographs are related to the field recordings. It's portraits of the people we have recorded, their dance scenes, and other contextual images. We have a big sheet music collection, including personal archives that we have received. And we have other text documents as letters, articles, and so on. So where in the world is Trøndelag? I'm going to show you on a map from where you are in Honolulu to Norway and the county Trøndelag, almost on the other side of the world. You see the outline of Trøndelag in the middle of Norway. And I want to give you a little context before we start, so you know what we're talking about. Trøndelag is a central region in Norway. It stretches from the coastline of the Norwegian Sea in the west to the forested inland bordering Sweden in the east. The region is characterized by a diverse landscape of fjords, mountains and valleys, and agricultural plains, with the Trondheimsfjorden, or the fjord of Trondheim, serving as a central geographical feature. The administrative center is Trondheim, Norway's third largest city and a historical hub dating back to the Viking Age and home to the Norwegian Center for Traditional Music and Dance. We have a population of about 480,000 people, with most residents living in urban areas such as Trondheim and Steinkjer. However, rural communities remain vital, especially in agriculture and fisheries. Trøndelag is also part of the traditional territory of the South Sami, one of the Sami groups indigenous to the northern Scandinavia. South Sami has a distinct language and culture, and although their population is relatively small, they maintain a strong presence in the region, particularly in areas like Snåsa and Røros. The Sami in Trøndelag are active, among other things, in reindeer herding, and efforts to revitalize the South Sami language and traditions are ongoing. Now let's get to the project, Arkivformidling Trøndelag. It is aiming to revitalize intangible cultural heritage in Trøndelag. It is a collaborative initiative, and the projects explore how archives, particularly audiovisual materials documenting music, dance, and oral traditions, can be activated to support cultural continuity, regional identity, and intergenerational exchange. Rather than serving as static repositoires, archives in this project become dynamic spaces for cultural engagement. Through community-centered strategies, the project fosters collaboration between archivists, traditional bearers, the youth, and local organizations. Activities include curated outreach, participatory events, and creative reinterpretation of archival content. Our main collaborators are regional archives and museums and local cultural organizations and schools and other community members. The project wants to highlight the social role of archives in rural and regional contexts, offering innovative methods for documenting, preserving, and re-performing endangered cultural expressions. Since 2018, Arkivformidling Trøndelag has worked to document, share, and revitalize local traditions, including those of the South Sami people, many of which are at risk of disappearing. In 2024, the county approved funding for a full-time position, making a crucial step towards sustainable cultural preservation. Trøndelag has a rich heritage of traditional music and dance, both in the main and in the minority population. Yet, until recently, it was the only region in Norway without a dedicated archive dissemination role. And the Trøndersk tradition encompasses, among other things, fiddle playing, the more modern accordion, flutes and clarinets, very often homemade ones, some Hardanger fiddle, and of course songs and couples dancing. Traditional music and dance used to be the main entertainment. It was used in labor, especially in herding, and socializing in general. Trøndelag's cultural landscape has undergone significant change. As rural communities shrink due to depopulation, many local music and dance traditions risk disappearing. Cultural homogenization, driven by national curricula, digital media, and centralized institutions, have weakened the transmission of unique place-based expressions. The shifting cultural landscapes and erosion of intangible heritage mean that there are less places to play and dance. The tradition is not present in any mainstream media, and the teachers very rarely know the traditions, so there is less dancing in schools. Yet, there is a growing need for regional identity in the face of globalization and immigration. And great cultural meetings happen when people know their own traditions well. Archives don't just store history, they curate it. What gets preserved, highlighted, and shared influences how communities understand their past and imagine their future. And I will tell you a little bit about Norwegian history. Because after the plague, the Black Death, we were under Denmark for 400 years because there were too few people left in Norway to get on our own. And then after the Napoleon Wars, we were given to Sweden from Denmark because Denmark was on the losing side. But we had already begun the process of becoming our own nation again. And in 1814, we got a constitution, and in 1905, we again were our own nation. Therefore, in the 1800s and early 1900s, there was a very big national romantic wave, and some rural traditions were lifted up and given a lot of value. The traditions of Trøndelag was not one of these traditions. By putting them in our archives and disseminating this material, we give value to this tradition and that it is worth keeping alive. Archives can promote cultural diversity. Diversity both in what kind of music and dance is encompassed by a tradition and the different nuances in the traditions from different places in Trøndelag. There is a saying that if you cross a bridge or a mountain through a tunnel in Norway, the spoken dialect change, and the same can be said for both the musical and dansical dialects. And archives can support living traditions, given the active uses, to give the active users of the traditions access to their past, give inspiration, and give value to those who still practice their tradition. Audiovisual archives can be used as tools for engagement and transmission. It can bridge generational gaps, especially in the absence of living traditional bearers. And digitized material give easy access from wherever you are geographically, because people move away for studying, for work, for love, and digitized material give them access to their own traditions. Archives can also be used to reactivate traditional music, dance, and oral traditions in local contexts. Archives, now artists, can use the material, and local groups discover more material, more diversity than they already know. In this picture, we see the leader of Arkivformidling Trøndelag, and she is called Marit Westrum. And the project approach has a very community-centered approach. And a community-centered archive strategy means that the work is starting, working with, and ending with the local communities. The initiative to the project came from local organizations who wanted more access to archival material regarding their tradition. And as I have said, Trøndelag was the only region in Norway without a dedicated archive dissemination role. So it started as a community need. One of the first things we did in the project was a series of meetings, and it was online because of COVID. There we watched archival material from the different regions, and the locals voiced their needs for a role. The conclusions of these meetings were the traditional bearers are few and they feel alone. There are less diversity now than it was due to streamlined education, and it is moved from the master apprentice to schools and classes. There is little visibility and consciousness about the local traditions, both in the institutions as museums and schools, and in the communities as a whole. There are now more interest from the youth, but there are fewer teachers. And there are privately owned collections that needs to be preserved, and that they, of course, are very hard to access. And there are traditional bearers alive now that needs to be documented before it is too late. As a result of this, we engaged in different activities in collaborations with traditional bearers, youth, and local organizations. And we did some documentation. We did a mapping of where the private collections are and what state they are in. We were building networks of museums and other institutions and connecting youth with traditional bearers as well as archive material. We did several dissemination pilots made with local artists and groups. There were festivals with concerts and courses, and concert tours that actively used the local archive material. And we are making courses for teachers in the local schools. I will now present to you 3 examples of activities that we did within the project. In 2021, Arkivformidling Trøndelag and the local events organizer Trondheim Folk launched a new concept called Arkivdansekonsert, or Archive Dance Concert. The project focused on the rich dance and music from traditions from Røros and Brekken, and it was developed in close collaboration with local tradition bearers, dancers and musicians who are experts in their field. The traditions around Røros and Brekken are vibrant and active today, and they have been that since the 1700s. Røros was a copper mining community, and the city is now a UNESCO site. And there are a lot of traditional bearers there on a very high level, and we could therefore pick top shelf performers for the development of this concept. It was developed with the traditional bearers, and we spent a lot of time looking and listening to archive material, and we were talking with them about what they heard and what they saw and what they do now in comparison. One of the things that made this concept unique was its format. Archival films were shown on stage, followed by live demonstrations and discussions from the 2 dancers and the 2 musicians. And the audience, they didn't just watch, they at some point also danced, and this created a powerful experience where archival knowledge was activated through movement and participation. And I'm going to show you a little archive clip. And you can see this clip we used in this project. It is from Brekken in 1979. And we are going to see a lot of amateur dancers in their traditional clothes, the bunad. And they are dancing a dance called pulse. And this dance is only danced and played in this particular area. And you're gonna hear a music that is not in a regular 3-beat. It's quite skewed, and this is very typical. And the sound will very soon come on. There's a little black picture here. The film will start very soon.
668.
The second example is a festival in Trøndelag that was called Folk I Inderøy. It began in 2021 as a collaboration between Arkivformidling Trøndelag, the local after-school activity, the Kulturskole, and local volunteers. The goal was to strengthen local music and dance traditions using archival material. Teachers from the Kulturskole and the high school received curated archive resources, which they used in classes and workshops. Dance instructors were trained in the local styles, and students learned both to dance and to play for dancing. This all accumulated into a festival of concerts, intergenerational dance events, and busking. The project reached over 700 participants in over 2 years and is now locally led by the Inderøy municipality. In this project, we also met Marion Selina Tutsos. She first made contact with us through this Folk I Inderøy, where she participated through her high school. Marion there found out that we had audio records from the neighboring house of where she grew up and many field records from her village. We also had sheet music, and she dived into the material and was instantly hooked. She ended up with access to almost all of the material we have from her local region, and this resulted in an amazing quote from a 19-year-old and a published CD with her interpretations of tunes from her home village. And she said, "There's something special about singing and playing traditions from your own home village. And when I listen to archival recordings, it feels very close. It creates a connection between me and musicians who are no longer alive, a kind of fellowship across generations and time periods." And I thought we would take the time to hear just a little bit of her album. This is her interpretations of the local material. cut her there. The third example is of us documenting Sami traditions. The song of the Sami people is almost extinct, and it was urgent for us to document and talk to the few traditional bearers who are still alive. Here we see a meeting with Jonil Joma and the leader of the Arkivformidling Trøndelag, documenting a conversation for the future. In this meeting, we had the assistance of the Sami Museum, Sami and Sichte, to profit from the experts in this culture. And this is also a part of engaging the local museums in safeguarding the local intangible cultural heritage. In this meeting, we made documentation of not only the yoik, which is the particular way of the Sami people to sing things and people, not about, but they sing the thing, but also other songs that were in her repertoire. She sang, among other things, a rhythm that Marit recognized as a waltz, and this points to the fact that the Sami people were an integrated part of the big society. They were part of the same social events and sharing the same dance music. It also means that the Sami traditions are a lot more diverse than many think, and that there are room for overlap between the main society and them. Some outcomes and impact. Arkivformidling Trøndelag has had a significant impact since its launch. Between 2018 and 2024, we have reached over 1,400 people. A big part of these are children and youth. And they have participated in archive meetings, in workshops, in festivals, and in dance events. And as you see in the picture, they also danced for the World Ski Championship that were in Trondheim this February. Local traditions have been revitalized in some schools and cultural schools and communities with archive materials used in teaching and performance. The project has also strengthened documentation and visibility in the South Sami music and dance, including yoik and the Sydis dance, which is the Sami dance. These efforts have fostered pride and a sense of ownership among participants, reconnecting them with their cultural roots. And importantly, the initiative has led to lasting partnerships with local institutions, ensuring continuity beyond the project period. Some broader relevance. Trøndelag lacked a dedicated archives disseminator. This project fills a critical gap by preserving and revitalizing local music and dance traditions, especially those at risk of disappearing. The traditional music and dance foster community, joy, and inclusions. Activities like dance workshops and local festivals promote mental well-being and reduce social isolation. Collaborations with schools and cultural institutions integrate local traditions into curricula. Archive-based teaching modules are being developed for music and dance programs. Archive materials inspires professional artists and supports higher-level artistic productions. It bridges traditional and contemporary expressions. Urgent documentation of post-war musicians, the swing traditions, and South Sami tradition cultures ensures a complete and inclusive cultural history. And it supports regional goals, the UNESCO conventions, and national cultural strategies. It strengthens Trøndelag's identity as a cultural region. And some reflections and future direction. We have to still ensure archive accessibility digitization, and integration with schools, museums, and cultural institutions. We have to deepen ties with local communities, sammensichte, and educational networks. And we have to continue developing the archival meetings, the dance concerts, and teaching modules to connect tradition with contemporary practice. We have to prioritize documentation and dissemination of underrepresented traditions, including the South Sami music and dance. And we have to advocate for permanent funding and institutional anchoring to maintain momentum and impact. And I think I have time to show you another archive clip, just because it's very nice. This is an example of archival material from Trøndelag. It's from 1979, also this, and it's from further north in the county. And what we see here is the diversity of the dance. They're now dancing a different dance than before. It's still in 3, but it's a bit different. But what you see is that all the people on the floor are doing it differently. And it's all valid, and it's all tradition, and it's all their own. It's their different versions of the dance. I think we will stop it there. That was all I had. We now have time for questions. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you are interested in our work, we are located on the internet, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ranveig. We'll open up for questions. Any questions? So I guess I'll start. Ranveig, what has been one of your challenges, or if there have been challenges in increasing those collaborations? What are the methodologies that you're using when you're reaching out to schools or other partners to bring them in? How what are the challenges faced in that communication?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, is that the schools already have a curricula that is very tight. It's very full, and we have to make people aware, or the teachers aware, that they have a responsibility for conveying these traditions. But I think that's it. And of course, the resources of the schools and other organizations.
Any questions? Patricia?
I was wondering what were some, you did mapping of the private collections and assessed their status. What were some of the materials that you found in those private collections, or is that sort of still unknown? You just sort of know the situation they were in, but not necessarily what they include.
Well, the sound that we found in the privately owned collections it's hard to assess what they are without listening to all of it. So, but we have taken in some audio collections and sent it for digitization, so that it will be easier to assess after, because it's probably a mix between really valuable archival information and records of the radio that they pressed record on the so it's probably a mix, and it's hard to assess. Yeah.
I'm just curious, what other ideas or projects have spun off of this main project? Are there other things you hope to do in the future along these same lines?
Yeah, definitely. We hope to do a lot more documentation. And of course, to further develop the archival dance concerts, to focus also on other regions in or other areas in Trøndelag, so that we can lift up other traditions that also aren't as strong as the first one we tried, because we had to start with a strong one to develop the concept, and then we have to further develop it with other areas.
Okay.
And speaking to that, can you talk a little bit about that idea of tradition bearers? I understand the context of it, but I don't know the specificity in Norwegian culture.
In what way?
So I think
The idea of it, like a griot or a tribal elder, I understand from an American concept. And I'm just curious what that means in Norwegian culture.
Yeah, it's often it's, how should I put it? It's usually someone who grew up within a tradition, and someone who has how should I put it? Who knows the rhythm and who knows the tunes in their backbone. It doesn't have to be a very elderly person necessarily, but it's more of a person who knows the tradition well, and of course, because it's playing and dancing, it's good if they are not so old that they're too old to play, or their hearing has started to leave, because we have a lot of archival material also of that. But to have them both knowledgeable but also quite active in their communities, to
Judith.
In the archive that I'm from, we have for quite a few years now had what we call archive challenges. trying to encourage performers to come in or to learn some of the songs and other things that are in our collections, in order then for them to make their own arrangements of that and adopt an archival source, but create in their own framework. So I'm fascinated by thinking about this in terms of dance now. And I will go back and share that with my colleagues. I think you have a really interesting model. And so thank you very much for telling us about it.
That's very nice to hear.
Any last questions? All right, well, please join me in thanking Ranveig for that wonderful presentation. We have a few minutes left before our next presentation. So if people need to stretch out, get a drink of water, I think there's coffee downstairs. Please feel free. We're going to start back up again at 9:30. Ranveig, thank you so much.
Do we know if the next presenter wants us to run the slide?
We don't. But he's echoes of a vanished world. That's a presentation.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's David.
Can I get you water?
I'm doing fine.
All right, do you mind if I run real quick?
Yeah,
Just
that's
grab
good.
I'm imagining something in the Coolidge right now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think there's some interesting possibilities with that one.
Oh, maybe. Okay, so he might be joining for the Q&A then. Let me look to see.
Yeah, I clicked present and I started hearing the voice.
Okay.
We have
all right.
that much dance footage.
Yeah.
But if Steve and Jennifer got their hands on this, I
Oh
mean,
my, yeah, they would have.
they'll have oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they would
So
have.
I took down a bunch of the things there. Turned them loose on that.
It's amazing how much is lost, just the generation.
Oh, yeah.
Or two.
You can come to Denmark and also under Sweden, I didn't know specifics or about the
Yeah.
Black Plague.
Because it
Right,
was
yeah.
1905.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's
That, like Italy, whenever I actually contextualize when countries became countries, because especially we're not taught that way in the States, it's very.
Yeah, I mean,
This is here and this is
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Norway itself until 19.
Right, wasn't,
Or something. I mean,
wasn't
That's
its own
where my
country.
family's from.
yeah. So when I went to Luther College, the most Norwegian of colleges, I guess, which is.
I'm from Des Moines.
Okay, I don't know that. All right. So, yeah.
No,
No.
it's in Decorah.
But it's in
Decorah, yeah.
But it's in Iowa.
Which is celebrating its 150th.
Yes.
So it was already an operating thing before Norway was.
Yeah.
But
For Norwegian culture. And up in that area.
Yeah.
Southern Minnesota, Wisconsin, and everything moving down in that way. It's so
That Southern
Well,
migration.
little,
so heavily Lutheran, as we
Yes.
say.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, Lutheran. I'm from a town in Minnesota called Scandia.
Yeah.
and here's another Wisconsinite here.
Yeah.
I am too. I am too.
That was interesting too. I hadn't thought about that, like
Yeah.
what traditions of immigrated Norwegians are there?
I mean, I was thinking of that
It's
too,
how that
but
changed over
trying
time.
not talking
Yeah.
US.
Well,
Right,
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
little tiny Decorah has its own Norwegian consulate.
Yep.
And when I went there, as a German American, but suddenly, as a freshman, I had to first learn the Norwegian national anthem because that for homecoming, the guy who was Crown Prince Harold, then who is now King Harold,
Yeah,
was coming. So
yeah.
I still can sing the Norwegian national anthem.
Do you sing it in English or?
No, Norwegian. I have no idea what I'm saying, they're singing, but I can sing it.
I'm gonna check my email
They
here
drilled
with
it.
David to see. I had some exchanges with him and I may have just missed that he's joining us after the presentation.
Cool, yeah, sounds good.
There's, at least Pokrajac has, really, there is so much Norwegian culture there, and there's this wonderful little museum. Even on campus, well, I don't know now, maybe they don't do it as much, but we had to observe 17. Mai, Norwegian Independence Day on May 17th, and
They didn't tell you what year it was?
no, apparently not, I had no idea.
You just said holiday.
Yeah. So,
Kind of like when you go to buy some off B&H. They're like. Sometimes it's a Jewish holiday, so they're closed.
yeah.
They're all the way closed. Like, you can buy this, but it might be a while till you get it, because we're out today.
I found the information. So he's still planning on joining us. He added the audio as a backup.
Okay,
So we'll see if he signs in. And we'll give him an extra few minutes too. So I don't think we're in any danger of running over. So
it's
I say that now.
Yeah. Find some wood.
Yeah.
okay. I didn't write down what's in here now.
It would be the Echoes of a Vanished World.
Yeah.
So it could be the Sonic Archive of Marginalized Culture.
Okay.
I can go into there it is, deterioration. In the Asia room.
Oh, yes, okay.
Kind of curious. I'd like to be everywhere today, but
Yeah,
Yeah, short ones
That's-
are always interesting and overlap.
no, I wanted to get over to Taiwan's, but I guess these will all be available later, right?
Uh,
These will all be on YouTube, right?
yeah, they're all,
As far as I know.
I don't know where the recordings are going, but they're all recorded.
I think somebody said that on WhatsApp, that there'd be, that whatever is recorded will be on YouTube,
Okay.
To record everything.
except for the last keynote or something.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't remember if it was the last keynote or the last, because it may be part of our research, so.
Okay, that's right, the archival
Or is it-
scale spoken language, that's what I should get to. Pacific, all right.
Oh, it's chilly in here.
It's chilly on this floor and downstairs it's really warm.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to go over to Pacific for this next one, I think.
Okay. I'm checking it.
Anyway,
The sandwich here.
that was fascinating. I really would love to see if we could do something about archival challenge for dance stuff. That would be, we'll see. I have some ingenious colleagues.
There are some more of those trees that have such a wide canopy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know what
that's-
the name of that tree is. They're all over the place here.
Huge canopy, yes.
But this is a good view of one. There's one over here. All over the place.
These are ficus.
They're ficus.
Yeah, they're
Ficus.
tropical ficus.
Tropical ficus.
This is what will happen if you put it in the ground, something that doesn't have seasons. There's this and there's banyans, some on
Right, yeah.
on campus, so every once in a while you'll see a banyan or
Yeah.
the sort of.
We heard that there's the largest band.
Okay.
Yeah, the really big ones that are coming down, those are banyans.
Oh, okay.
But these are ficus.
Okay.
Sometimes their
Tropical
roots will come
ficus.
down too.
Doesn't look like the ficus I'm familiar with.
There's a lot of different ficus.
winter they control it too.
Yeah, but these, if you put them in the ground and you let it go, all of their roots will start coming down too. So like you can kind of see with the
Yeah,
sun,
they're-
it's like
they're
these
definitely-
wispy parts coming down.
Yes, that one of
Yeah.
the back trees, I was sitting under one of those picnic benches the other day and it was actually looking up and taking photos of some of the.
Yeah,
Starting to come down. Beautiful.
yeah, almost nothing you see here. They're brought in because they're
Yeah, I wanna go look for that, really large banyan tree that's supposed to be on canvas somewhere.
I believe it's more towards the center.
Yeah.
So if you start walking more towards campus center, it's closer to that.
Huh,
And
we
they
were at Campus Center yesterday and we didn't see it. We saw more of those tropical ficus.
yeah.
So,
Is it in like a courtyard? Is it down? I feel like maybe I've seen it around.
I feel like it might be close to the art building, but I know they have an exceptional tree map.
yeah, I know they do. I have a map of campus that I.
Yeah. No, I haven't looked at it for a really long time. Tree map, I might have it on.
Oh, if they do, that would be terrific.
They used to have it at campus center all the time, and I remember students always being like, why would you want a map of trees?
Well,
There's some of the coolest things around.
Yeah,
I'd vote for that.
they're labeled pretty well most of the time.
Good morning. Hello, David's here, so I can go online if you want me to do that. I'm connected. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
that's, yeah, we can hear you. The moderator isn't in the room yet, but once they are, it would be great if you can go live. That's better than the recorded voice.
Absolutely. I think it's always better to go live and plus.
Oh, yeah.
So much.
Will there be voice on each of the slides? Can I avoid that auto playing? Maybe
I can play from my computer by sharing if it is
okay, you'll
okay.
do the slides. Yeah, that's totally good.
Make this.
Oh.
Not helpful. It's all using by.
Okay, I stopped sharing, so if you can share, that's good.
I'm doing my own little Google to see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Just a quick check. Did you hear the voice I played on my computer? The file?
I'm not hearing anything from your computer. It also seems like you're not sharing right now. If you could try
Okay.
sharing.
I will start sharing in a second.
Okay, sounds good. But yeah, I didn't
So-
hear anything from your computer.
Okay, good. Now I am sharing.
Okay, we can see it.
Good.
Yeah, there's one website, it says, I know a campus features diverse trees from Hawaii, the Pacific, and the tropics. The thin pumpkin trees are used species. So, and we have a sausage tree, a cannonball tree, and the largest baobab in the US.
Those are all near the art building.
They're near the art building?
Yeah.
I wonder where's the art building? Where are they?
Near
somewhere.
here.
It's a tree.
It's just the campus now. I was trying to use their plan map, but
It's like,
it's all
oh, there you go.
cybernetic.
Here's
So
the art
it's,
building.
yeah, it's right up here.
Is there one online? Big map.
And they have something called the plant finder, but you can only search by scientific name, which is not helpful if you don't.
Right.
know
Really
it.
casual.
Learn the science.
Yeah. The art building, like all around.
Okay,
is
David is
really
here and willing to
background
share his
stuff.
slides, so.
Fantastic. David, welcome if you can see me. Patrick,
Yes, I can hear, I can see you have a blue shirt or whatever.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think there was a good.
Can I get a quick name check on your pronunciation check on your last name? Is it Pokrajac?
Yes,
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll get started here in a couple of minutes. I'll introduce you and then turn it on over, okay?
yes. I'm
Yeah.
trying to make my camera working, but I don't think you can see me, although it says it's sensitive. You know what?
Yeah, right now your camera's not showing up, but it just has like a camera with a slash through it.
Yeah, that's fun.
But you need to.
Certified session, which is helpful to us because we don't know that.
Is there a, in the bottom left-hand screen, is there an option for a camera?
So there's an.
Yeah, there is an option for camera. In fact, it's currently selected, and what I mean doesn't send. So we will ignore that. We can go audio.
Is there a slider on the top of your monitor that might be covering the, like a physical slider that might be covering your camera?
No, there's no such slider. No.
Is your camera app separately open using the camera? Sometimes that helps.
No, that's a camera embedded in laptop, and there is a light showing that it works. So I'm not sure why it doesn't.
Okay. All right.
Let us know about that.
Yeah.
I saw some people milling about for coffee downstairs, so, and I see the other presentations just let out, so we're just gonna give it a couple of minutes before we get started.
Mhm.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the 9:30 presentation, Echoes of a Vanished World, the discography of Sofka and Nikolić as a sonic archive of marginalized cultural identity. I'm very happy to introduce David Pokrajac. Dr. Pokrajac is a researcher and former professor of computer science with a background in data science, music archiving, and cultural heritage studies. Welcome, David.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm so happy to have an opportunity to present at your forum. This is joint work by Sasha Spasevich and myself, and we are working very closely with the people from Institute of Musicology in Belgrade. This is the presentation about discography of a Serbian and ex-Yugoslav singer Sofka Nikolić. And it is literally an echo of vanished world, because the recordings we are talking about comes from a country that vanished, which used to exist in the middle of Southeast Europe, which was called Yugoslavia, and which was at its times surrounded by Italy, Austria, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, and Albania. This is an interesting region for studying geography, history, culture. If you look at any map of this region from any time, you would see a lot of variety, a lot of territories which are connected or disconnected. This is an example of map from the times when Sofka Nikolić was recording. It was at that time split into 9 districts and plus the capital district. And this is how that territory looks in not so distant past. I mean, a large number of different countries, regions, territories, territorial disputes. But what is really important for us, a lot of culture. And from this variety of culture is where actually our subject matter, our Sofka Nikolić came. How does the cultural contrast look in practice? These are actual snapshots from a number of newspapers, journals, books, indicating different entertainers and some of their potential audience members. So here we see 2 movie stars, Svetislav Petrovic and Itarina, who were famous in Europe in 20s and 30s. We see 2 competitors for Miss Universe from this territory. We see again 2 actresses and dancers, and then some unidentified players with the drum which says jazz on it. At those times, whenever they had a big drum, it was called a jazz band. So this is a jazz band from 1920s or 1930s. And in striking contrast to attempts of westernization and to the mixture of Western and Eastern, we see some less affluent people in their typical dresses gathered together for a photo session. So among all of these interesting people, there was she, Sofka Nikolić. Sofka Nikolić, we could say, was the first real star from ex-Yugoslavia. And if you look at the definition of the stars, yes, there was everything there. There was popularity, there was media coverage, there was presence on radio, in newspapers, there were concerts, tours around the country. She was popular. Not only she was popular, if you actually look at today's times, she is even nowadays popular. She's known. People occasionally talk about her as an example of a pre-Second World War folk singer. She was a gypsy. She had Romanian origin. Her family came from Romania. She lived in Serbia. Also, a significant part of her life she spent in Bosnia, where actually she started her career. And she had a life which could be called for stigmatization to social affirmation. She started singing literally in the tents on the fairs. And towards the end of her career, she appeared at the most prestigious venues at the times, which were at that time coffee shops. After the Second World War and after the death of her only child, she stopped professionally singing, but occasionally again she had media appearances and she made sure that she is present. In fact, we are currently in preparation of a longer manuscript about her, so we will cover a lot of aspects of her work. What we are currently now covering is her discography. And this is just an example of some of the media coverage. This is an article by Rodney Gallup from
Could you, we lost your audio just now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the article from Rodney Gallup from the Gramophone magazine, where he covered two of the records from Sofka Nikolić, among other Serbian records. And that was not the only example when people were writing about Sofka Nikolić. The sources for our research, the problem with discography research in general for Serbian Yugoslav discography is the incompleteness of data and lack of the comprehensive discography for the Shellac period. So it's literally, in lots of cases, detective work. First, we start with available catalogs, discovering the catalogs. A lot of these catalogs are known to exist in only one example, literally. Then online discographies. Luckily, there is an online discography from the Gramophone Company. Also, Discography American Historical Recordings, and also the effort from the Institute of Ethnography and Folkloristics in Zagreb, where they gathered discographies of Edison Belpenkala, Elektroton, and early Yugoton. There are some published materials like Ledgers from Carl Lindström conglomerate. And frankly speaking, you would easily find that these sources are not sufficient. So then the digging starts, looking at the daily magazines for ads, for any mentioning of recordings, and looking at the preserved phonograph records with precious information about the titles and the performers. So when you do all of this and spend a lot of time in actually sometimes cleaning contradictory information, then you come up with the quantitative information that can be utilized for further research, which is discography. Example of some of the sources from Institute of Ethnology and Folkloristics discography. This is Edison Belpenkala recording. This is from the Gramophone Company discography, which is the Cali database. Then here we have a sheet from Edison Belpenkala recording, a sheet from Serbian Odeon catalog, and a typical ad for Edison Belpenkala records from Croatian Jutarnji List. And finally, and very interestingly, this is an ad which helped us to determine the exact number of recordings from Sofka Nikolić Paris session. Otherwise, we would not have proper information. So even a small piece of information like a newspaper's ad can help finishing the puzzle. What we can say about the discography of Sofka Nikolić? She did record at least 94 sides at 48 records. The reason one side was repeated on two different records. Her recording career on Shellac records lasted for literally only a year and a half. And there are a number of reasons for all of that, among others, the crisis caused by radio and by the world economic crisis. So that was actually, these were the reasons why actually there was a slowdown of discography in general and discography in Yugoslavia in particular. Sofka was, during these recording sessions, accompanied by two orchestra. One was led by her husband, Paja Nikolić, and on only one label, on Parlophone, there were recordings by another band leader, Jovan Vasić, or how he was known, Jova Jare. By label, we can look quantitatively and qualitatively. Quantitatively, the most sites were recorded for Pathé, for a French label. And out of 40 of these sites, 4 titles are not known. How does it come? Because we know there are 20 records recorded, which means 40 sites, but actually we found only 36 of these sites, which means 18 records. We don't know at this point what is recorded on the remaining on the remaining records. For Edison Belpenkala, which was Croatian and Yugoslav label, again, a part of international conglomerate. She recorded 2 times. But the most influential ones were those sites which were recorded for his master's voice. She recorded 16 sides. That was her first recording session, and actually it had the most profound impact in terms of the presence on market and so on and so forth. And another thing I would like to point out, look at Parlophone. We know for 4 sides, but based on how these records were typically done, we suspect that during the recording session, more likely 10 or a little bit more sides were recorded. However, at this point, since we do not have complete discography of Parlophone for this period in Yugoslavia, we really don't know what is the exact number of sides recorded for Parlophone. That's why we can say that she recorded a total of at least 94 sides, probably more. Some of the sides were reissued. During the period when they actually appeared, there were 2 reissues. One was on Victor. Victor reissued some of his master's voice matrices in general, and also in the Victor reissued Sofka Nikolić matrices. And also some of the recordings were issued by Office of War Information for propaganda purposes during the Second World War. In more modern times, seldom, maybe 1 or 2 of the songs were reissued on compilations, like this one on the cassette and this one on CD. But probably the most important is the most recent reissue, where due to the effort of Mr. Goran Perović from Belgrade, complete his master's voice session of Sofka Nikolić was reissued on CD. This is precious. And I mean, whoever listens it, you could witness how great digitalization and restoration was performed. What was recorded? Out of 90.
We lost
We
you.
lost you again.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can
Now?
hear you now.
Yes, yeah. So out of 94 recorded recordings, there are 54 distinct songs, which means some of the songs were recorded 2 or more times. 4 songs were recorded 4 times, while 7 songs were recorded 3 times. And this is not peculiar only for Sofka. If you look at the discography of another singer from the period, Mijatović, you could see that some of the songs he recorded even 6 times for different labels with different orchestra and songs. The majority of the songs by origin came from region of Serbia, while the second place is the region of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which kind of changes the popular perception about Sofka Nikolić to be a Sevdalinke singer, where Sevdalinke refers predominantly to a song from Bosnia and Herzegovina. No, actually, according to our count, she predominantly recorded from Serbia. However, there are other peculiarities here. For some of the songs, you could at best say that they have mixed origin, and especially that applies to the songs from the south or southeast part of Serbia, where it would require a lot of detective work to determine the exact origin of the songs. So we suspect that some of the songs that we label as Serbia are probably also from today's Northern Macedonia, which is the proper name of that country now. A lot of the songs were actually folk songs, traditional, but some of them are from the known authors who are known to influence urban folk music, like Marko Nešić, Stanislav Binički, Jovan Paču, and possibly one song by Cornelije Stanković. While Sofka was a gypsy, only 3 songs had traces of gypsy origin, which kind of indicates the well-known fact from ethnomusicology that the gypsy interpretators from the region usually did not sing the gypsy songs, but actually picked up the local songs and actually changed and actually sung the local songs. Another thing which can be determined from studying the discography is that, unlike today, there was no exclusivity, which means there were no songs which were recorded exclusively by Sofka Nikolić. A lot of songs that were recorded by her were also recorded by everyone else, pretty much. So out of her 54 songs, our incomplete search for our information about discography of other performances I ever identified to be recorded by others. And even within a label, for instance, Odeon, which was one of her publishers, issued 75 of her songs also with other performers. So there was not that exclusivity, even a label by label. So the labels try to sell singers like Sofka, like Miat, like others, but not the songs. As a result, the popularity of the singers was not lasting. And actually, we could see that the careers of the pre-Second World War folk singers in Yugoslavia did not last for a very long time. That's also the case with Sofka. Also, if we compare the prices of the records, we can find out that some of the publishers competed by price. Edison Bell Penkala basically tried to reissue the repertoire which was previously published by His Master's Voice, but at economy price. So if you are not very affluent, you would probably buy Edison Bell Penkala records, not His Master's Voice records. Well, at the cost, because Edison Bell Penkala records were typically of inferior quality because they were made on recycled material and so on and so forth. But hey, they were the economy label. On the other hand, the latecomers to the market, which were among others Pathé and Odeon, tried to compete based on repertoire. So they knew they cannot oversell His Master's Voice on the songs which His Master's Voice already published. They instead decided to publish the songs that His Master's Voice or Edison Bell Penkala did not. And that's why 50% of recorded repertoire by Pathé and Odeon, Sofka did not record for other labels. The songs that we actually found in Sofka's discography were frequently played on radio.
We lost you again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. The Sofka, according to our parallel research, where we actually studied the songs which were played on Belgrade radio from phonograph records, Sofka was the second most frequently played singer of folk songs and the most frequently played female singer. And based on the frequencies of the songs, we can find out, and these are the lists of the most popular, most frequently played records from radio, which can provide indirect indication about the popularity of the songs, with the caveat that the radio was selective, so they predominantly played His Master's Voice records rather than, for instance, Parlophone or Pathé, very likely because they had a contract where they were advertising the His Master's Voice recordings. Popularity, that is one indication of the popularity. Another indication is in newspapers, you could find articles which talk about the popularity of the songs. There is one article talking about summer season in Belgrade, where they had portable phonographs. And from each bush on the river, you could hear either Sofka Nikolić or Miat Mijatović. Or you could find an article of a guy waiting a train and actually hearing somewhere Sofka Nikolić record playing. So this is how we can indirectly learn how popular these recordings were. And plus, when we now look at the survived collections in private collections, we can see that the majority of records are really His Master's Voice, Sofka's records, which indicates their popularity, their dominance on the market. On the other hand, Parlophone and Pathé, which were latecomers to the market, were much less popular. And of course, there are a bunch of open questions. First, we really don't know who are the musicians who accompanied Sofka. We know that only for Pathé session in Paris, but not for other sessions. In a lot of cases, with the exception of his master's voice, we don't know what are the recording dates. We have missing pieces of discography, predominantly parlophone, and also 2 records of Pate. And the thing which we are still studying for our forthcoming manuscript is what is the influence of Sofka's recordings on other performance and in general on society. So now, how is all related to the topics of the conference? Sofka, Nikolić, and intangible heritage. By having the recordings of Sofka, Nikolić preserved, studied, and available, we capture the cultural identity of marginalized Balkan communities affected by political and social changes. The events of the Second World War, and then Communist Revolution, and then in 1990s the Civil War, and whatever happens there, and we've seen the protests which happens in Serbia for last 10 months, fighting against corruption and whatever else. All of these historical events contributed to erasure of tradition, erasure of memory. And the only way we can really fight as civilized people actually is by preserving all recordings, including the sound recordings and any other traces of the previous times. The audio material preserves real musical traditions. This is the only way we can answer the question how it was played in tavernas, in restaurants, in these communities in 1920s or 1930s. But the efforts to preserve these recordings are ongoing, but they shall be embedded in institutions, and institutions do not seem to care as much as they should about this heritage. In France, a lot of work is actually led to the amateurs. Amateurs, as we all know, do not have capabilities and knowledge that professionals have. Cross-disciplinary collaboration among musicologists, data scientists like me, cultural historians, digital humanists is essential. And only this way we can enable preservation, contextualization, and reinterpretation. Because what we strongly believe is not only studying this tradition, putting the tradition into context, finding the social role of, in this case, music or entertainment, and finding that the traces of social changes I think you lost me again.
No, we have you. Nope, we lost you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now we have you.
Good.
No.
And yes, and
Yes.
finding the interplay between the social changes and the way how people entertain and perform music. If you want to talk to me about this, obviously I like to talk. I used to be a professor. Please send me email and I would be happy to talk. And I even left a couple of minutes for questions. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, David. We do have a couple of minutes for questions, for a couple of quick questions. I'd like to open it up to the floor. Yes.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. I was wondering, I'm not sure I understood where the archives are currently kept.
Unfortunately, I cannot hear you well. Can you maybe?
The question was, David, if you had any insight into where the archive material that you were accessing to find this, where is that being held?
A majority in private collections. In fact, in the private collection of the second author, there are some preserved recordings at the archives of Belgrade Radio, but those are predominantly on tapes. They were not original shellac records. In Osig, in the Czech Republic, at the archives of His Master's Voice, there are some matrices. They used to exist there in 2008 when our late collaborator Milan Milovanovic traveled there. I don't know whether they are still there, but Ustion Laben is the name in Czech. So there shall be some matrices still available there. So, but overall, this is scattered, and it's not. There are also some in the Serbian National Library and the Croatian National Library. There are phonograph records there, and there is ongoing effort to digitize the records at both institutions.
Yes.
Hi, David. I also want to say hi because I live in Belgrade, so maybe I will see you one of these days in Serbia. But I'm curious where you are digitizing these collections and if you're doing those in Serbia or sending them out of the country.
To the best of my knowledge, they were digitized in Serbia. And to the first part, I'm living in Seattle area, so if you are in Seattle,
I thought you were in Niche.
well, I live everywhere. Niche is the place where my institution is, but I live here in Seattle area.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Where can we access the sound recording?
The question is, where can we access some of these recordings to be able to?
You can share maybe later.
Or if you can.
Send me email and I will talk to you. That's the best way.
So send him an email.
Could you put your email?
Could you put your email back up, please?
Absolutely. That's what I'm doing.
So if you send him an email.
Sure.
Any other questions? I had a quick question, hopefully, but thinking of digital humanities and as a data scientist, and I could hear a little bit of sort of surprise in your voice when you were talking about the regions and the types of music represented in her repertoire. Do you see future study in artists of that time, recordings of that time, demonstrating the different traditions that come through the recordings and where those might map to the various cultural traditions within the Balkans?
Yes. So short answer is yes. A little bit longer answer. In preparation of our manuscript about Sofka, one of our collaborators, Nikolić, an ethnomusicologist, compared the performance of Sofka, Nikolić, and a couple of other folk songs from the period. And actually, we found surprising variety, which could partly come from the origin where these singers came from. What I think need to be compared, and I mean, I would love if somebody corrects me, a lot of songs, especially from Southeast Serbia, which I indicated as of uncertain origin might be Macedonian. I would love to compare actually also them with songs of Bulgarian tradition to try to see whether there is and where is that interplay of cultures. In a lot of cases, when you talk about Serbian songs which were recorded, interestingly, they talk about Bulgarian regions. There is one talking about Vidin and Chustendil, which were places far away from Serbia. Why Serbs have these songs? So these are kind of interesting questions, which I, as a data scientist, ask. And I would love to hear answers from people who do musicology.
I think we have quite a few musicologists in the room who might want to help you with that.
And I'm not sure whether Maria is here. Maria, if you are here, hi. Maria Dumnic is our collaborator.
Maria could not join us, but yeah. So David, thank you for this wonderful presentation. Thank you so very much. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will enjoy the rest of the day on sunny Hawaii. Hopefully sunny, right? So enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. There's coffee and some snacks downstairs in the main room, and then I think we're back up here at 10:30. Is that correct? Yep.
I actually have a quick question.
Sure.
Is there going to be available the recording of this session so that I can store that?
So I believe so. I think everything's being recorded, and once we get all of the raw data, there'll be or the raw feeds, they'll all be edited and we'll be able to put them up and provide at least access to the presenters for them.